Hello, everybody. My name is Tristan. Welcome back to L Space. I am very happy that you are joining me today because today I am going over all of the books that I would love to read in August. You know, this is always the part of the month where I set my expectations really, really high, and then, life gets in the way and things kind of peter out from there. Um, Today, well, not just today, this month is super exciting because August is Women in Translation Month, which is a really great opportunity to highlight and focus on books that are translated into English. Usually, the main. I'm speaking in English, so you're probably also listening in English, and you're probably reading in English too. So, yes. So this is a really great time to focus on women from around the world and the books they're writing and the books that are being translated and adapted into the English language. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to celebrate, and it's certainly a good time to highlight some fantastic books. So that is what I'm going to be doing in August. I mentioned this in the last video that I made, that I had a couple of books that I was interested in reading for Women in Translation Month, but I just didn't know that August, like at the time of filming, like during filming, I did not know that Women in Translation Month was August. And so it's really exciting that it is already upon us, and the fact that two of the books that I really wanted to finish by the end of the year were translated books by women. So, no time like the present. So let's jump in. The first book that I would like to read in August, for Women in Translation Month, is Minor Detail by Adania Shibli. Now, this is a harrowing Palestinian story that has been making its rounds in the book sphere, Bookstagram, BookTube, BookTalk, all of those places. And it's nice because it's very short. It's translated by Elizabeth Jacket. It looks like French, so Elisabeth Jacket, if you were to say it in French. But anyway, begins during the summer of 1949, 1 year after the war that the Palestinians mourn as the Nakba, the catastrophe that led to the displacement and expulsion of some 700,000 people. Many years later, in the near present day, a woman in Ramallah tries to uncover some of the details surrounding this particular rape and murder, and becomes fascinated to the point of obsession, not only because of the nature of the crime, but because it was committed exactly 25 years to the day before she was born. So there's obviously it's unpacking all of the injustices and just monstrous things that the Palestinian people have had to endure at the hands of the Israeli state. So I've been very much wanting to read this book. I know that it is very intense. It has a lot of things that people could find triggering. So it's one that you want to read before you want to check out those trigger warnings before you jump in, because you should always take care of yourself, etc. But anyway, I am for sure wanting to read this in August because it's been on my list for a while, it's been on my shelf for a little while, and I think it's time. Next is another book that I've had on my shelf and list for a while, and that is Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung, translated by the legendary Anton Hur. And this is just a bunch of stories that make you go, what the heck did I just read? They're sort of like sci-fi, fantasy-ish, magical realism, horror, just like really weird stuff. And I know that Bora Chung is a great author. I have been very much wanting to read this for sure. This has been all over the place, and it sounds so interesting. And it's nice because it's not terribly long, just like Minor Detail, so it's probably one that I can easily get to. So that is Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. Next is one of the ones that I featured in my books that I would like to read before the end of the year, and I figured out that I think if I read, what is it going to be, 2 of those books per month? I think it actually has to be 3. 3 books of those per month, and I will be able to finish all of them. But anyway, Kairos by Jenny Erpenbeck. I am going to give you the actual sort of blurb synopsis thing, just so that you have a good idea of what I'm reading in August. So this is also, importantly, translated by Michael Hoffman. I don't think I put any of the translators' names in the books that I want to read before the end of the year, so I'm making sure to do that here. Okay. Kairos, an unforgettably compelling masterpiece, tells the story of the romance begun in East Berlin at the end of the 1980s when 19-year-old Katharina meets by chance a married writer in his 50s named Hans. Their long-running, passionate, yet difficult affair takes place against the backdrop of the declining GDR through the upheavals wrought by the through its dissolution in 1989 and what comes after. In her unmistakable style and with enormous sweep, Erpenbeck describes the path of two lovers as Katharina matures and tries to come to terms with their destructive romance, even as a whole world with its own ideology disappears. And I know that the romance is very like analogous or very referential to the whole situation dealing with East and West Germany, or East and West Berlin. So, pretty interested to get to this one. It won the International Booker Prize this year, so I definitely would like to read it because, you know, a team of literary experts deemed it the best translated fiction in the English, well, best translated fiction into English in the world for this year, so it's clearly very good. It's translated from German too. That's another important thing. Curse Bunny is translated from Korean, and then Minor Detail, I believe, is translated from Arabic. Yes, translated from the Arabic. Okay, so that was Kairos by Jenny Erpenbeck. And then the other of the translated books that I put on here from the books that I'd like to read by the end of the year is The Wondrous and Tragic Life of Ivan and Ivana by Maryse Conde, and this is translated from the French. She is an author from Guadeloupe. She is still alive and I believe still writing, which is pretty amazing because she's like 95, something like that. But anyway, she's a really fascinating writer. She is kind of you could almost call her kind of the Toni Morrison of the Antillean writers, the French Antillean writers. The big ones obviously are like Frantz Fanon and Aimé Césaire. Those two, like everyone knows, more because they're super political, but Maryse Conde was writing at the same time as a contemporary of those, and she had a lot of interactions with Fanon in her literary career. And so anyway, super interesting woman, super interesting figure in the literary scene, especially in French literature. French francophone literature is what you would call it. But anyway, this is about Ivan and Ivana, who are twins, and they have kind of a suspiciously close relationship, love for each other, etc. It's kind of a weird situation, I think, but they can't live with or without each other. One of them joins the police. One of them becomes a radical, kind of revolutionary type person, and I imagine there's going to be some clashes between the two of them. And it's a sort of just like sweeping panorama of the conflicts of the 20th century in general. And it just sounds so good. And it takes place both it starts in Guadeloupe, goes then to Mali in Africa. Why did I say Africa? And then it finishes its sort of crescendo and conclusion in Paris. So I'm very, very interested to read this one. I really loved her book, Crossing the Mangrove, and I love her as an author. So very much going to be excited to get to this one this month for Women in Translation Month. You should do it too. So the last book for Women in Translation Month that I'm interested in reading in August is going to be In Other Words by Jhumpa Lahiri. Now this is a just sort of collection of essays on her experience with translation. She began her writing career writing in English and has now completely, like, basically abandoned writing in English for writing in Italian. She lives in Rome, and she's translated her own work from Italian into English, and I think that is a fascinating thing for an author to do. Obviously, that's the best way that you can get a work translated from one language to another, is for the author just to do it themselves. And, you know, if I ever get my stuff published at some point and also finished, but, you know, I could see myself translating them into French, and I would be the one to do that. So, anyway, this is just kind of her thoughts on translation, language, all of that. And I thought that it would be a pretty informative meditation and just sort of reflection on that. It's cool because it is written in both Italian and English. So on one side you have the Italian, and on the other side you have the English. And so you if you speak Italian, or if you're like me and you understand Spanish and French, you can kind of guess what the Italian, and you're like 85% to 90% of the time you're correct. You can actually look and witness her work of translation, because she wrote this, I believe, originally in Italian and then translated it into English. And now they're parallel texts, which is super cool. So yeah, I am very interested in reading this one. I do love Jhumpa Lahiri as an author, and so I think that her insights on this particular subject are going to be very interesting. So yeah, that is In Other Words by Jhumpa Lahiri. Translated by Jhumpa Lahiri. Go figure. Oh yeah, I forgot to do the translator for the one by Maryse Conde. And it is translated by... Oh, interesting. It's translated by her husband. That's super interesting. Okay. But what is his name? It's translated by Richard Philcox. And apparently that is her husband, which I did not know. That's pretty cool. Yeah, he says that as husband and translator of Maryse Conde, in that order, I feel I'm in intimate conversation with her while translating. She is writing back to me, and I can see in her novel all the small details and cultural references of our life, the music we listen to, the journeys we have made together, and even the people we have met. That is really cool. So that's another very intimate form of translation. Yeah, I will have some more thoughts on this, because obviously being a bilingual reader and somebody who has read a lot of books in translation and in the original language, mostly from French, and then also like read them translated into English, I have a lot of thoughts about that particular subject. So more to come on that. And the last book that I am going to read in August, and I say going to because I've already started it, I'm a member of Eric Cervini's very gay book club from Alstora. If you don't know what Alstora is, it's a sort of queer-centric online bookstore that highlights queer authors and then also authors of color. And it's a really cool thing because if you are subscribed to a book club, this is not sponsored, by the way, but if you subscribe to one of the book clubs, you basically pay for the hardcover book, and it's shipped to you, but then you also get a complimentary membership to the site, and with a membership, you get 30% off anything in the store. And so it's pretty cool. It's how, honestly, I got my Booker long list books, some of them, because there was no way I was going to be able to pay for all of those hardcover books by the end of the year. So I got a pretty sweet deal thanks to Alstora. But anyway, the book club book for this month is Four Squares by Bobby Finger. And this is a very interesting book because it's set in two separate timelines. One of them is 1992, where the main character, Artie Anderson, has just turned 30, and he's sort of meditating on that. And then it goes to 2022, 30 years later, where he has just turned 60. And it's really an interesting meditation on age and aging. And I don't think you very often get perspectives of, it's not an elderly gay man by any means, but he is an older gay man, and having the perspective of him is very interesting. And it also, I believe, kind of grapples with the idea of going into like a retirement community, and then which, you know, can double as an assisted living community. And so I will have more thoughts on this when I finish it, but You''ve already started it. I do really like it, and it's been fun. I very much enjoyed the Very Gay Book Club. So if you are potentially interested in this, it definitely has been pretty fun. I did not like last month's book very much, and I would love to give a rant review of that one because it just bothered me so much. But anyway, this one has been great, and yeah, I will have more thoughts on this when I finish it. So there you have it, folks. These are the, oh gosh, why do I do this to myself? There's 6 books here. All right, so here are the 6 books that I would like to read. The first 5 are the ones that I'd like to read for Women in Translation Month. The last one is one that is part of a book club that I'm in, and we'll be finishing that one fairly soon because it's engaging. I like it a lot. But yeah, I hope that you find some of these pretty interesting if you've never heard of some of them before. I definitely would love if somebody read the one by Maryse Conde with me. I think that would be super cool if somebody did that because she is a great author, and I would love to at least get one person to read something of hers. But yeah, these are I think are all going to be really interesting books. They all, with the exception of Cursed Bunny, I think are fairly political. So we'll see how that goes. How I feel by the end of the month. I might be wanting to dive into some just like mindless fantasy or something like that, but who knows. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again very soon with another video. Bye.